All right, Module 12 and 13 are all about surface area and area. So the first thing that we're going to learn about as far as area goes is something called a parallelogram. Now, excuse my handwriting because my fancy pen is dead and it's charging right now, and so I'm using my finger to write on my iPad right now. So parallelogram. A parallelogram is a shape that has two sets of parallel lines. Okay, just like how there's the word parallel in the word parallelogram, parallel lines are in a parallelogram. Okay, specifically two sets. Now, parallel line means that there's two lines that when they're drawn, they can go on forever and ever and never touch each other. So if you, just like we the other day, if you put your two arms like this, like an equal sign, okay, those two arms, your arms are aligned so that if your arms went forever and ever, they would never actually cross, okay? So this would be like if I have two lines like this, you can continue those lines forever and ever in each direction, and those two lines would never cross each other, okay? So, if I had two lines like this, okay, even though they aren't crossing right now as they're drawn, if you keep drawing these lines, you will see that eventually they will cross each other. So those are not parallel lines, okay? A parallelogram is a shape that has two sets of parallel lines, which means this line and this line are parallel to each other. They will never cross. And then there's two lines like this. And then these two lines are parallel, so they will never cross each other. For it to be a parallelogram, they have to both be parallel sets of lines, okay? If they are not both parallel, they are not a parallelogram. All right. Parallelogram is very closely related to a rectangle, and we're going to learn how to find the surface area of a parallelogram. Well, we know that the surface area of a rectangle, okay, surface area of a rectangle, which a rectangle just looks like this, right? Okay. The surface area of a rectangle is the height times the length, right? So the height times the length. Okay, now a parallelogram is very closely related to a rectangle. So for this hands-on task, I would like you to go to the supply shelf and find the basket on the shelf labeled Parallelograms Hands-on Task 12.1 and get out one parallelogram. Cut out the parallelogram so that it looks exactly like a parallelogram. So cut along the black lines. And then once you have that parallelogram cut out, I want you to try to, you only get one cut, okay? One cut. How many cuts? One cut. You can cut this parallelogram one time, and you are going to take your two pieces from that cut and make a new shape, a rectangle. So you're going to take this shape, this parallelogram shape, you're going to cut it once, just one cut, and then it is going to become a rectangle. Can you cut the parallelogram once and rearrange those two pieces to look like a rectangle? Go ahead and try. Cut it once. Think about it before you cut it. Cut it. If you can't figure it out, you can ask a neighbor, you can ask a teacher. If you really can't figure it out and you think that you cut it wrong, you're more than welcome to go and try and get another parallelogram. Just don't use too many of them, and please make sure your scraps get in the garbage.